Hello, everybody. I'm Ellen Sentier, and this is Celtic Noir. And today I'm going to talk about riddles. I'm going to talk about a journey, which was sort of a bit of a riddle. And I'm going to finish up with a saga poem, which centers around a riddle for you. So the poem is based on the story of Ragnar Lodbrok and the Swan Maiden, which some of you may know. It's my own version of it, and it contains a riddle which Ragnar gives to the Snow Maiden, and she answers it. But let's just start off with talking about riddles and talking about the journey, which happened a long time ago. But riddles are funny old things, and we've all heard them and told them maybe, and they're very ancient, and you find them amongst people everywhere, all over the world. So, what are they about? Are they just jokes? Are they so people can show off how clever they are? I got it, you didn't. All that kind of rubbish. But what are they? Well, the sort of dictionary definition, which I will give you, is a riddle is a statement, question, or phrase having a double or veiled meaning and put forth as a puzzle to be solved. And it's not bad, actually. That's pretty good. One of the most famous riddles, which is not the Ragnar Lodbrok one, is the one that the Sphinx gave to Oedipus. And that's even got some beautiful pottery drawings of it actually happening, which are really lovely. And the riddle that the Sphinx gave to Oedipus was, what creature walks on 4 feet in the morning and 2 feet in the afternoon and 3 feet in the evening? And the answer, which Oedipus gave, and which was the correct one, was man. Because a baby crawls on all fours, and an adult walks on two upright legs, and an old person walks on two legs with a stick. So they're twisty things. You've sort of got that. And they're there to make people think. And that's what the Sphinx wanted to do for Oedipus. And it is actually very relevant in his story that it starts his brain working in all sorts of funny ways. And they're tricksy. Riddles are tricksy. And in the old ways I was brought up in, as well as many others all around the world, the trickster is the very best teacher you could ever have. You always want to be taught by a trickster. They're not nasty. They may be uncomfortable, but they're not nasty. And we're often encouraged, as I just sort of made out, we're often encouraged not to like tricksters. And perhaps because we're afraid to look silly if we can't answer, or we think the person is being mean, giving us a question that we can't answer easily. But that's certainly not the case in the old ways. Tricksters and riddles are there to fire up your brain, get you thinking, and especially get you thinking out of the box. So something is unusual and difficult. You've never done it before, but you know you want to do it and you want to do it now, but there's nobody to help you. What are you going to do? Give up? It's much more fun if you don't give up and you find all sorts of things that maybe you'd never even imagined before. Most of us get bored with the same old, same old. I know I do. I want to see something a bit different, maybe a lot different. I want to go to foreign lands. I want to experience how they do things there, ways that are quite different from mine. They're different food, games, dances, language, pictures, jokes, everything. And I want to know how their country looks and how it feels too. That's always been very important for me, how a country feels. Excuse me, coughing. Got a touch of hay fever, so I may have to cough every now and again. Anyway, when I was young at university and after, I did a lot of traveling. I hitchhiked from Exmoor, where we lived at the time, to the outer edges of Afghanistan and further. I went right on to Kathmandu. You could still do that up to 1979, and I went in 1972. And it was always called, and it still is now, it's famous and it's a very gorgeous hippie trail. And I even, on this one of mine, I even came back with one of those frightful, dreadful, incredible, absolutely gorgeous, stinking goat coats. And it was amazing. Mum wouldn't let me in the house with it first, but we got there in the end. But it did have to live in the stable. Anyway, I set off in June at the end of the summer term. I was at uni then. And I got back from the whole trip just about in time. It was a skin of the teeth job, just about in time for the autumn term to begin in October. And my first stop was to get across the channel. Not too hard. And I'd saved up enough for a ferry ride, but I hoped I'd pick up with someone, maybe a lorry driver, who was going further than just across to Roscoff or Calais. And I tried for Roscoff and I made it. I was in luck. And the guy took me all the way across France to Strasbourg. I must admit, I was not very impressed with Strasbourg. France is gorgeous and was even more gorgeous then, but I was not very impressed with Strasbourg. And so it was really good when I got another lift out of there pretty quickly, and that took me down to Venice. Wow. If you haven't been to Venice, even nowadays, and 1972, it was still quite something. Now it's a bit over tripperized, but if you haven't been to Venice, it's worth it. And from there, I managed to get to Greece, partly hitching on a boat and working on a boat, and got over to Greece, went through there, more cars and lorries, and thence into Turkey. That is wild, quite fabulous, absolutely gorgeous. And, like in Greece, there's all the temples and the history and everything else that you're walking through. So then from Greece, it was a dip down into Israel. That was interesting and amusing. And then across the deserts, except they weren't then. I don't know whether they are now, but they wasn't like crossing the Sahara. It was different. And that took me into Afghan. Now, in those days, Afghan was totally incredible, gorgeous. It was absolutely crammed with fruit farms, and you could always get work and food and board at the farms, and you often had to sleep in the hay over the goats. And the people were lovely. They really were nice, and they wanted you to work and they wanted you to help. And then they were quite happy to let you go and help you on to the next place. And so eventually got right across Afghan and right across again to Kathmandu. Everyone went there then. That was one of the places you went on the hippie trail, one of the end places you hoped to get to on the hippie trail. And I got there. It's totally incredible. I imagine it's still pretty good, but in then it was still very much itself and of the people who lived there. And we were really visitors, and there weren't many of us. Now I think there's lots and lots of visitors. Then there weren't. And we were sort of part of it. We took it on. And we all ended up, well, pretty quickly actually, wearing the dress of wherever we happened to be. And soon we were a mishmash of all sorts of clothes. You never started off taking too much. You just took the basics to get you out of Europe. And that wasn't including, might not even include toothpaste, but it didn't include face creams and all the rest of the crap that people take nowadays. So like two pairs of knickers, maybe a bra and a quick change of t-shirt, and then maybe a second pair of jeans if you could manage it. You took only the basics because I know this is going to sound odd to you, but you actually knew you would get everything along the way. And you did. And yes, you hitched. Trucks, lorries, cars, whoever would give you a lift and take you to the next town, or maybe several towns, like the guy from took me to Strasbourg, and maybe several farms further on. And quite often you were alone. I like that. And many of us did. It gave you time to think and to really get into the land and the people that you were going with and through, and the drivers that you were going with. And often They were really quite interesting people. And no, you were not always being raped every 5 minutes. So get that one out of your head, okay? It was fun. And it was so different when we got out of Europe and so different from being in England or Europe. And the American friends that I met there, they said it was different too. But you did meet them and you did meet other people who spoke English. So the languages, you did have a chance to talk your own language a bit. I never got the basic, more than the basics then, of the language of anywhere that I went to along the way. I wasn't really there long enough. I did already have excellent French. I got a Francophile father, and I like it. And so I had French and English. And back then, um, I don't have it anymore. That was gone. I can manage French, but I can't speak it like I could then. And strange thing, the fruit farmers that we went through, say in Afghan, or people we picked up, certainly in Israel, so many people actually had at least a smattering of English and or French. As we all muddled along very well together. And it actually gave us a different perspective because people can tend to think that in these what we call uncivilized places, oh, they don't speak any other languages. Actually, they may well be better than us. And I found that a lot on my travels, that people could speak my language many times better than I could speak theirs, unless it happened to be French. And you never really knew where you'd end up. It was all adventure, and I was young, and I wanted to see everything and meet everyone. And sometimes, as you said, you pick up with other hikers or meet them on farms and make friends and lose friends because you might never see them again. Or you might not make out, you might not be good with them. And you make relationships, yes, boyfriends, that kind of thing, and then drop relationships. And yes, it was all wonderful, all different, and all exciting. And it really made me think out of the box. And sometimes scary, yes. But then life is scary, isn't it? It is really. It's not all an insurance policy. In those days, though, we didn't expect safety and we didn't expect certainty. And we actually wanted risk and adventure, and we got it. Sometimes in spades. Another time, I'll tell you some more of the adventures, because some of them are quite fun. And, riddles are actually a part of what made all that possible for me. And from our chats along the trails, it did for others too, because we were brought up with those riddles. And that happens in many, many countries. And because we got used to answering and asking tricksy questions, we'd already started with thinking out of the box. And it helped us feel full of expectancy, but without expectations. And that's important. Embracing the unknown, not being scared to look silly, willing to keep on going, whatever, that's what makes fantabulous journeys like that possible for us, all of us, if we want them. It's not certainty, it's not security, it's not having an insurance policy and a bank card and a mobile phone. And mobile phones weren't invented in those days. Dad was lucky if he got a postcard from me. I don't think, no, I don't remember phoning him at all. It would have been very difficult. You'd had to be in a town, and long distance telephones in 1972 were not the easiest things to arrange. So it was all down to me, as it was to each of us who hitchhiked. And we were willing for that. We liked it. We wanted it. That's why we went. The risk, the unknown, and not being scared of being scared. That's a real big one. And it's another thing that answering and asking unexpected questions like riddles, it helps you with. Twisting your brain around and asking riddles really does help you get that outlook. And back then, on the hippie trail, nobody needed to score points by making you look stupid. We were all there together. We may not all like each other, but in general, we weren't mean. So that's my little story about me for the moment. And now let's do the riddle story of Ragnar and the Crow Maiden. Crow, crow, raven's foot, spinning, tumbling on the air. Come to me, thou fair raven hair. Singing, wind in the sails, Ragnar strides the deck. Black bread, he cries, black as raven's wing, as fire dreck. Why bring you me black bread? Oh, dark she was and dancing, black fire red around the cot. The spider stopped her not. Feared we were, the leader said, feared of the cot, of web, of spider dread. Spider, crow, and raven's wing? You say she sings? Ay, sire, like a blackbird on the wing, so she does sing. Nay, like a firecrest wren, another said, high and bright and fierce and darting all about, within, without. She set us watch the bread, the leader said, and then she tripped her way about the cot, the while the spider sat in a corner with a smile, and naught was said of dimmer dread and all. Our eyes were strung on web strings, we forgot the bread, the leader said. Forgot the bread for Waven's wing, and so, he said, to me her bring. And she's so fine, I'll hear her sing. But wait, ah yes, and then her mind I'll ring. Crow, crow, raven's foot, spinning, tumbling on the air. Come to me, thou fair raven hair. But neither naked, neither clad, nor yet in fast, nor broken bread. And neither lonely nor alone, so shalt thou be when thou dost come to me. So back they went to Spider Cot, where all they got was singing ravens, cawing crows, and laughter, as the spider knows. Next morning, as the sun arose, she came, alone, not lonely, black dog's nose against white thigh. The fisher net clinging close about her form, red lips singing, brush his skin, wild garlic scent, her breath brings. Home now, across the water now, no more a fray, away, a tossing on the and tumbling seas, and blood-stained swords. Now he tumbles in the warm sea of raven's wing and white skin, until the bloodshed sheets of birthing. 4 strong sons of morning she gives him. And then came war. He must away to ride the tide, no longer at her side. Away, they said, away, she is a crow, a spider's child, of witch wood, no good, not a woman queen at all. And Ragnar king, he said, here is a girl, Ragnar, fair and tall, a queen for Ragnar Lodbrok's hall, and honey gold, her tale she told, into his cup of mead she poured. His eyes were awed, his heart was gone astray. I will put her away, he said. And coming home, he stood and looked in every way, but in her eye he could not stay, but dropped his gaze before her. And softly then she pulled the spider's threads, turning his eyes so he must look, was on her hook again. Away? She asked him. Aye, I'll go away, but ere I go, stay, my lord, and hear my say. For I am Princess Aslog is my name, daughter of the sun, the spinning wheel, the spider weaves the light. Did you not know it? And she dropped the burning ring into his hand. The gold shone. If you do not know it now, in 9 months' time, the child I bear you will be dragon-eyed. At night she held him in her arms and legs. He was content. The blood-stained sheets of birthing brought him forth, and Ragnar Lodbrok saw the truth. The dragon's eye shone redly, and darkly she did sing of raven's wing and golden ring unto her king, and darkly did he dream. And here she stayed, and he ne'er strayed, until the flood of Ella's coming stemmed his tide, and so he died. So there you go. Ragnar and the Swan Maiden, and the riddle that he asked her, and she answered it in the way she came, and she had him. It's a good story. They all are there. So I leave you there with that for this week. So until the next time, bye for now.